Well, good morning, everyone. I hope each and every one of you have a great start to your Saturday. The fact that you are here on this Zoom call for our US English speaking active school, you already are a winner, and we're great to have you here. Um, I know there's other things that you could be doing on a Saturday morning, but it's great to see your smiling faces, to feel of your energy, and knowing that you are doing something literally to build your business here at ACTIVZ. You won't be disappointed with the presenters that we have today, and especially the guest speaker that we have lined up. I'm so excited to get this Zoom going and our active school going because I want to give as much time to our presenters as possible. In fact, our first presenter requested that I basically only have a one-sentence introduction of her because what she has lined up in the topic that she chose, new leadership. Um, I don't want to spoil anything. All I'm gonna say is that she is one of the legacy A14 here, one of the founding members of our distributor leadership here, and she is very beautiful. And that's all I'm gonna say. I give you the very beautiful and lovely Noemi Garcia.
Hi, good morning. So glad to be here. Let me put on my presentation. I hope you like it. So can you see my, okay, thank you so much.
Yep,
So
all good.
my name is Noemi Garcia. I live in Mexico, in Villahermosa, Mexico, and I'm 43 years old. And I'm going to tell you a little about my story and how I became an A14. I just want to inspire you. Okay, so this is my family. This is my husband and my two kids. I have two kids, Mauricio and Freddie. And they were just like this when I started doing network marketing. Mauricio was a year and a half. Freddie was like 2 years and a half, maybe 3 years. They were so little, so you can imagine I had no time. So that was my first time doing network marketing, and I didn't know how to do it. I just haven't heard of it before. No one ever invited me to join them. And of course, I didn't know the success guide, the one that we have today. I didn't know it even existed. So I just share what I knew. I think that was my first strength. I didn't know anything. So I just picked up the phone and started sharing what I knew. Okay. So we have now our activation system that's on our success guide, and we know it's about inviting, presenting, follow up, and objections. We all know it, and we should be learning this in our first maybe 24 hours, in our first week, because these are hard skills that are very easy, and we're just going to be repeating and repeating them every day for the rest of our lives. So now I'll go on with my story. People always ask me, if you didn't know the success guide, if you didn't know how to do it, how did you convince people? Because let me tell you, in my first month, I enrolled 5 people, and I had some clients, and I just got my investment back really quick. So people tell me, if you didn't have the success guide, how did you convince people? And I had no time at all. I worked at a school. I was a math teacher. I had very little kids, and I started my job at 6:30 a.m. And then I had my parents pick up my kids at school when they got out of school, because I was finishing my classes at approximately 3 p.m. So my parents took my kids, they took them to their home, they fed my kids, and then when I left my job, I went to my parents' house, picked my kids up, and go home. So, and then I had 2 little kids. And as a math teacher, I always had grades, and I had to put grades and review projects and everything my job required. And my kids, my very little kids, and I was always, at the floor playing with them and doing a lot of stuff with them. So I had no time, really no time to do by my business. So I put my kids to bed at 7 o'clock. So when I was at my job, I had these 2 little recesses between classes, 20 minutes. And in those 20 minutes, I picked up my phone and called my friends and said, okay, Diane, I'm going to call you at 7. Will you be available at 7? Okay, I'll call you at 7. And then I called 3 more people and I scheduled them at 7, 7:30, 8, and 8:30. Okay, I put my kids to bed and then I started calling people. And when they call me, what are you going to tell me about at night? I don't have time. I'm at my job. I will call you later, okay? So I only had those 20 minutes to make appointments, and I started calling people, 3, 4 people every day, because I just had between 7 and 9 p.m. to make calls. That's it. I just had phone calls every day. So I couldn't stop, because as a math teacher, I was earning very little money. I couldn't even pay my mortgage. My husband has just lost his job. So that was our only income. We couldn't pay mortgage. We just had enough to eat. And that's it. So I couldn't stop. I needed the money. And that's why when someone told me about this business, I'm an actuary. That the actuaries, if you don't know, are the people that make all the insurances. It's just, we like math. That's it. We like math. So when people, when my friend told me about this job, about the network marketing that I have never done before, I just got a paper and started doing my math. I said, okay, this is good money. This is something I could learn. And the money, that's the money I need, because I didn't know another option for me. I didn't know what else I was going to do. I could do to earn that much money. I'm fast, and I know this is not fast money, but I knew that from my first week, I could make extra money to start paying mortgage. So I was against the clock. And this is the real thing. As I was against the clock, I had no time to convince anyone. So when people ask me, how did you convince people? I didn't, because I could not stop to talk to one of my friends more than half an hour. I didn't have more than half an hour to talk to each person. So I was just making calls, one after another. And if you can open your success guide, I hope you have all read it, you can see that convincing people is not a required skill. There is no sentence in your success guides that says you have to convince people, okay? The only thing we need to do is expose the information. Make sure everyone that we know or that we don't know have this valuable information that we have. But we cannot stop to convince anyone. We don't need to convince anyone. And now how do you do it? You have to look up for your strengths. What are you good at? What do you like doing? And at that time, I realized the only thing that I liked was talking to people. Anyone that knows me know that I'm very chatty. So I like talking to people. So I just did that. I don't know anything about NERF2. I don't know anything about health. I don't know anything about network marketing or selling or marketing at all. I just know how to talk to people. So I just picked up my phone and started talking to people. No time to convince anyone. So let's go back to our activation system. We talked about this: inviting, presenting, follow up, objections, and enroll. That are our hard skills. But I think, and that's just my personal appreciation, that we need some other skills. The first one is meeting people and building relationships. Because if you don't know people, if you're not meeting people every day, you don't have anyone to invite or to present or to follow up. Without people, you don't have a business. So that's the first thing, and not just meeting people and attacking them with your information. You have first to build a relationship. You have to make them trust you. so they can follow you. Oops, what's going, okay, here. That's soft skills. That's, and to build relationships, we need to work on ourselves. We need to have some personal development, and we're going to talk about it a little later. And then I would like to ask to add to the activation system, the business launch and events, because you can learn to invite, present, follow up, objections, and enroll on your first week. You just have to read it in your success guide. You don't even have to learn it. You don't even have to memorize it. You can just be at your phone reading the success guide. But if you don't take that to action, then you don't have a business. That's why you need to launch your business. I have a lot of people in my organization that know how to learn everything, and they go into every Zoom and they study every day, but they don't call people. So there's no point in knowing everything if you're not launching your business. And you have to launch your business as soon as you get in your first 24 hours. And then there's the events. And I have heard people say events are not that important. And I'm going to tell you something. When I started doing network marketing, after 3 months, okay, I just told you I had a first 1 month, a great first month, but after 3 months, I just wanted to quit. I just wanted to quit. But I had already paid my plane and my hotel for the next event. So my husband said, you don't have to waste that money. Go to the event, and when you come back, you can drop it off. You can get out. Okay, and I did that. And that was the best thing Freddie could have told me, because when I attended that event, I just got my ignition on again. It just started a fire. So that's why we have events so often, because this is a very emotional business. And if you're not connected to the system, if you don't have a community, if you don't have your friends here, I have also heard people that say, I'm not here to make friends. Well, let me tell you something. I am here to make friends, because my team, I'm our best friends, because they have the same vision as I do. And they have this need to help people, the same need that I have. So once again, this is not about just meeting people. This is about building relationships. And your first clients, your best business is with your friends. Because when you have friends in your business, you know they're not going to leave you. They're going to be faithful. So events, let me get back to events. What are events? These calls every month, the personal events in your cities, the one that corporate makes, they are so important, because we get to expand our community. We get to hear all those stories. We all think the grass is greener on the neighbor's side, on the neighbor's backyard, and it's not. We all suffer the same things. We all have been through the same things. We all have been exposed to all the no's and to people that say this doesn't work, that is a scam. But when you go to an event, you see 1,000 people telling you the same story, and that gets you going. That makes you think that if they can do it, you can also do it. So events are really, really important, and this is about leadership. Okay, this is not just a business about hard skills. It's about personal development, and this is about being a leader. That's what we're talking today. So let me go on with my story. After 1 month, I have 5 people in my organization. Okay, I was making money. I was earning the same thing I was earning at my job. That was very little, but I mean, from making calls 2 hours a day, I was making the same money that I was making in 10 hours in my job. So that was a big thing for me. So, but guess what? After 1 month, let me ask you, what are we all afraid of? What's the last thing you want to do when you get in this business? Make phone calls, right? You pick up your phone and it weighs a ton, because you're afraid to call people, because you're saying, I don't know if this is true. I don't know if this is working. I don't know if I will make more money. Maybe I was just lucky my first month. So I was also afraid of that. I am still afraid of making calls. We all are. That's the worst thing of all. But that's a yeah. So after 1 month, I was afraid, and I said, okay, now we have a team. I have to teach my team everything I've learned. And there's a lot of work here. So I said, okay, I can stop making my phone calls because I need to teach my team. That was the easiest thing for me to do because I was so afraid of the phone, so afraid of calling people, so afraid of getting more no's, that I say, I'm going to teach. And that's a lot of work. I had to teach them how to invite, how to enroll, how to blah, blah, blah. And I was every day teaching my team. That was so much fun for me because that was about teaching. That was about sharing what I knew. And that's called the management trap. And we have all been there. The management trap is when you stop making your goals, when you stop building your business, and you're just telling people what they should be doing. And the thing is, you're not doing it. And people is not going to make what you say, what you tell them to. People are going to do what you are doing because you are their inspiration. If they are saying, okay, I will follow Noemi, or I will follow Sylvia, or I will follow Diane, or I will follow Karen, and they just got to that rank, and they're not making calls, I can do that. I can get to that rank without making calls. That's the management trap. Stop doing and start telling people. So let me tell you about the business phases, because there's only 4 phases in this business. The first one is growth. When you are making your calls, when you are inviting people, when you are enrolling people, where you are teaching them to enroll more people. And that's a very fun part because you make calls, people say yes. I mean, not that quickly, but they say yes, and you make money. And then you make another call and another 10 calls, and one of them will tell you, okay, and you're just going and going and going and making money. And the cashier sound, ding, ding, ding. That's so much fun. Every Friday that I check my phone, you just got your money from ACTIVZ, yay! That's so much fun. But when you are in management mode, then that's not so fun because you are not making your own money. You are you have to make money from the job of other people, from the work that other people are doing. Okay, you have to rely on them. And that's not good because if you stop, they stop. So if you don't make money, they don't make money. That's not really good. And then you start feeling bad, and I'm not growing because they are not making they are not doing the correct things. You are not inviting, you are not going to meetings, you are not making your own presentations, you didn't go to the event, and you start blaming others for your lack of growth. That's no fun. You start getting uncomfortable, okay? Because you're in that management, you're not growing. And then there's the negative part, okay? The negative part is, it's her fault. It's her fault. It's their fault because they are not bringing any more people. It's ACTIVZ fault because they are not giving me the same things that Mexico have. I'm not growing because there's no more essence in, how do you call it? Iteration essence? I don't know. There's no Emora, so I'm not growing because we don't have Emora. It's ACTIVZ fault. I'm not growing because I didn't like Las Vegas for the momentum trip. And that's because I'm calling and no one is answering, and no one, they just get all my time on the phone because I want to call ACTIVZ and they're just not available for me. I'm not growing because it's their fault. You start blaming the other people. You start blaming you start blaming ACTIVZ. You start blaming the economy. I'm not growing because my country has a bad economy. I wish I was in Mexico because Mexico was, I wish I was in Ecuador. No, no, no. In Ecuador is the worst. Peru is the worst. Every country I've heard is the worst. So you're in negative phase because you're not in growth phase. And after you're in negative, you're out. There's no coming back. You're out. So how do you stay in growth phase? That's the only phase that you're going to be happy all the time. I mean, not all day, but every day. So how do you, that's what I'm going to talk to you about, the new level of leadership. What can you do to be all the time in growth mode? First of all, you have to identify your runners and help them become leaders. You know who are the people in your team that are already running, the people that are calling you every day, please help me, I need this, how do I do this, how do I teach me about my back office, okay? You know, the people that call you the most are the people that are really interested in growing, okay? Identify who's running with you, who wants to run, and then help them become leaders. Teach them this, okay? And I'm sure there are another runners in your team that you haven't met yet. So go to your back office and identify new ones. Because there's a point that you just see names. You don't know your whole team. Thank God. I don't know my whole team. But I can go into my back office and see the numbers. Numbers don't lie. That's what I love, numbers. Numbers cannot lie. You can see which one, I mean, today is, what's today, 9? 10, okay. Today, you can go in your back office and you can identify your runners because they already had another shift on the day 5 or today. That's how I identify my runners. Who makes their other shifts on day 5? Those are my runners. Those are my leaders. Those are the people that are really interested in growing. The ones that leave it to the day 25, they're just there. Yeah, okay, I'm here. I have friends. This is my community. But the ones interested in growing have their ownership on day number 5. So go into your back office and identify them and call them and tell them, I can see you want to grow. I can see you want, I'm available for you. I want to teach you. Would you like to learn? Just be available for your team. And learn not only the hard skills, but launch your business and think about your strengths. Maybe now you don't really know what your strengths are. You have to identify them. And not only your strengths, but the strengths of your runners. Because the team is going to be better if you start sharing the strength of everyone, okay? Because maybe there's someone in your group that doesn't like speaking, that it's not as chatty as I am, but they are very good at science, or very good at social media, or very good. And if we join our strengths, then we can make an even better team. So identify what are your strengths and explain these business phases to your people. Explain these business phases to your organization. Do you want to be in growth, in management, in negative, or out? There's just 4. Choose one. And events. Tell them the importance of assisting events. What did they miss? When we get out of this Zoom later, call the people that didn't get in from your team and tell them, you know, you should have been there. We've learned this and this and that and that. Okay, you're missing information, and I know you want to grow. I know you want to make money. I know you want to help a lot of other people to be better as a person, and to have better health and to have wealth. But if you're not going to events, you're not learning these gold strings that we're learning. Tell them what they are missing, and don't ever miss an event. Oops. Something's wrong here. your business will only grow as far as you want it to grow. Oops, something happened here. Okay, here it is. Your business will only grow as far as you let it grow. So let's go back to the activation system. I know I'm repeating this a lot, but I really want you to take a picture and learn this. We have already talked about hard skills. Well, not really, but mentioned hard skills, business launch and events, which are your leadership skills, the leadership skills that we all need. Now, let's talk about personal development, because I think that's the key of everything. Personal development is a, oops, sorry about the age, ability to understand, use, and control our emotions. The ability to understand, use, and control our emotions. And I think this is the hardest part. Believe me, I have spent decades in therapy, and I really mean decades in therapy, in courses, in everything you can imagine. But that's, I think, working on your emotions is really the key to grow. You have resources. We all have resources at our hand, free resources, I mean, and we all have our abilities. What's going on here? Oops, I don't know what's going on. So, how could you have a great business if you are not able to manage yourself? If you cannot control your emotions? How are people going to follow you if you're not worthy of being followed? And let me tell you, how many books have you read this semester? These are your resources. How many books? We're in June now. How many books have you read from January to June 10? Okay, how many courses have you taken? Not about hard skills, about soft skills, about personal development. How many exercise hours, how hours have you made? Do you exercise every day, 2 or 3 days a week? Or do you don't exercise at all? Do you make meditations? How do you start your day? These are the resources that you have in your hand. Okay, so how are you building yourself? You have to build yourself and then build a business. Okay, so people will follow, as I was telling you, people will follow when you're worthy of being followed. When you are doing your chores at home, what's your attitude towards this work? Are you relaxed? Are you, okay, this is what I have to do? Or are you just, again, I have to do laundry. No one is helping me. What's your attitude towards your work? How do you make your calls? How are you making your business? Are you bored? Are you negative? Or are you just eager to go outside and talk to people on the phone or social media, whatever your strength is? When you exercise, are you happy? Are you telling yourself, this is good for me? I'm going to be healthier. My body needs this. Or are you just thinking, I should be at my bed? What am I doing here? Why do I have to run? I don't need this. And what about life? Are you happy? Do you feel joy every day? Are you an observer or are you a judge? Are you judging your people? Are you talking bad things about your team? Are you blaming everyone? This is reflecting you as a leader, not only in your daily life, but as a leader. How do you wake up every day? Which one of these pictures relate to you? Like, 6 o'clock again, I don't want to get up. Or, wow, be grateful. Thank God, thank the universe, whatever you believe in. Are you happy to see the sun? Are you happy for another day? Are you grateful for everything you have? How do you create your day? Because you are creating your day. Abundance mentality starts with your thoughts. What are you thinking? What are you thinking every day? I was telling Angie when we got into this call that it's really hot in here. It's like 100 degrees already, and it's 9 in the morning. So I could be angry, or I could be grateful for the sun that makes my plants grow. But it all starts in your thoughts. Do you have a morning ritual? What do you do when you wake up? You can, and I'm going to make you some suggestions to you. Maybe you can pray, and you can make a meditation, or you can say things, you can hug your family. And how about a night ritual? I'm going to give you a tip. Sometimes when we go to bed, we are just thinking about all the things we have to do the next day, right? And we cannot sleep well, and we are anxious. So I invite you to get out every night, put a notepad next to your bed and a pen. And before you go to sleep, write the 3 most important things that you have to do the next day. The 3 things that you cannot miss the next day, okay? And put it on paper and let the paper have it, you know? Get it off your mind. And then you're going to sleep a little more with a little more peace, because you don't have to remember what you have to do the next day. You just are sure that the paper will say to you. You're just going to read that paper and go on your day. You can make that as a night ritual. Get out of your comfort zone. If you're not making exercise today, get out, put on your sneakers and go walk for a block. If you're making 2 hours a week of exercise, well, start doing 3. If you're making no calls at all, start making 1 call every day and make that your goal. If you're doing 3, make 4, but you have to expand your mind and your heart. We all have, and use your energy wisely, because we have a limited energy in our life. There's just so much energy from when you start your day till when you go to sleep. So how are you using that energy? Are you using that to talk about people, to be negative, to be complaining all day? Or are you using that energy to make calls, to share all the things we have in ACTIVZ? Use it wisely. So this is my last message for you. You have to believe in your abundance, because abundance is out there. The money is out there. The health is out there, but you have to create it for yourself. And it starts with your thoughts. You have to think about it. You have to use it wisely. You have to make your own decisions, because not doing anything is also a decision. And if you are not growing as a person, then your business is not growing. Once again, you are going to be followed when you are worthy of being followed. And that no one can do for you. You have to build yourself. You have to create your abundance. You have to believe it, and you have to create this new level of leadership. Thank you so much for that.
That was amazing, Noemi. Thank you so much. Wow. So many things. I already filled up a whole paper of things. I hope everyone learned so much about this new level of leadership that Noemi talked about. I know that when she hit A12, both her and her group were struggling to then advance to the next rank. And it was at that time that she refocused herself, her energy, and her team. And lo and behold, she's already in A14. I cannot wait to see her reach the rank of our A16. So yes, you are going there. I mean, I like the last thing you said, where doing nothing is still a decision. We all have decisions in our lives and even in our day, whether to do something or do nothing. So, doing nothing is a decision. So instead of doing nothing, I like that. Keep a pen and a paper next to your bed, because sometimes my mind just races of things, and so if I can just write it down, I can sleep better. I'm gonna take these tips that you shared and even apply it to my life, because it just doesn't go towards network marketing or building actives. Whatever walk of life that you have, I love it. And also knowing that you're a math teacher, that is awesome. Now I know who to call when my son has a problem with his math homework. But anyway, that was amazing. I hope you guys all learn something, at least one thing, because it is so much information, good information that I cannot wait to apply to my life. And so really appreciate you taking the time to share those thoughts. Well, I'm excited for our next guest. Man, all I'm gonna say is what a great mother she is, because she has raised some wonderful kids, and her son is off to bigger and better things. And as a parent, there's nothing better to see your son and your kids be very successful. And so to introduce our next speaker, I will turn the time over to our CEO, David Brown.
Thanks, Sue, and thanks, Noemi. That was great. I'll have a couple more comments about some of the things you raised, but it was great practical training from someone who's been there and done that, and that's the best type. Our next speaker, we're going to go from Villahermosa, Mexico to Pensacola, Florida. So that's quite a jaunt, and you don't even have to get up and leave your chair. We're going to go there, and Karen Toth has been actually with us at ACTIVZ before there even was an ACTIVZ. She was there from the beginning when there was the idea of an ACTIVZ, and she and her husband Ed had just come off successfully creating and then selling a large telecommunications company that they had built from scratch and really turned into something significant. And kind of reminds me, remember the old commercial where the guy says, "I like the company so much I bought it"? Well, she liked the idea of ACTIVZ so much that she and her husband invested significantly in the very early days of the company, and were a major reason that we're all here today is because of that investment along with others. And so she saw the vision very early on. She does have a number of wonderful family members. Her children, Justin and Nick, are very accomplished and already setting the world on fire in the various things they're doing. They learn it from a hard-charging mom and a very supportive, smart dad. And Karen has been involved in leadership in a variety of things, not just in business, but in church and in nonprofit organizations and in other things that she's been involved with, and she's been a big part of ACTIVZ. So Karen, we'll turn the time over to you to continue on what's been a great morning. And you're on mute. Karen, I think you're still on mute.
How about that?
There you go.
There we go. All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome, welcome. So glad to see you today. Naomi, what a great presentation you have. Oh my goodness, I don't know how I can follow that. I am going to try to expand. Oh, my share, I think, just left. And I'm trying to do this, and it's been a while. But Naomi, that was awesome. Awesome. So let's see if I can get mine to work. Can you see it, everybody? All right. So today I'm going to be talking about, and I don't think it's in the presentation mode. Hold on just a second. I'm going to be talking about how to be different and how to be active by 12 tips to build your successful business. And it's going to expand on what Naomi said, because Naomi definitely started. You have to have in your mindset, right, who you are and what you want to do with this company. And you have to have in your mindset that you can be successful. And it might not be that you've done this before. And that's great, because I always call that ignorance on fire, which I'm usually that person. And you have to learn as you go. So that's what we're all here for. And that's what you've made your first step into being different and being active, by being on this call today. So that's amazing. So continue on. And hopefully some of these things that Naomi and Alzap and all of us are saying today, tomorrow, and the next day will sink in, and you'll be the leader and the grower of this wonderful company and the spreader of the information of the great products that we have. So let's get started, because I'm known for not staying on track and not being in my time zone. So Stu, I'm promising you I'm going to do it today. All right. So I'm going to give you 12 tips. Our first tip, right? Naomi said it. Sell what you use and enjoy it. And how did she say it? Well, she said the leaders always have their auto ships at the 5th of the month, not the end of the month. Well, I have an even simpler question. Do you even have an auto ship going? Do you? A lot of us slack off and go, well, I'm going to sell it. And when I get money, then I'm going to use my product. No, you've got to come out of the gate using the products and services that we're selling. And because that is how you become successful. Consumers know, and your potential clients will know whether or not you're using the products, whether or not you can talk to them, and whether or not you actually really love what you're talking about, which you should. ACTIVZ has the most wonderful products on the market, right? Everything from our skincare to our trifecta, and they do such amazing things to our body and our minds and our soul. So if you're not using it, you're missing out on your own, right? Being the person that you need to be, that the ACTIVZ can help you become. And you're missing out on being the true person and the true example of those that you're asking to join you in ACTIVZ. So make sure that you are using the products and show us that you're a leader. Get that auto ship on the 5th of the month and not the last of the month, right? And also, when you're talking about our products, make sure that you're honest and enthusiastic, because these products are going to give you your testimony. And this is going to give you your story, your business story. And so we're going to talk about that in just a minute. But you have to know your products and use your products in order to be able to truly represent ACTIVZ. Number 2, identify your ideal target audience. Now, okay, I know each and every one of us who gets into this business says, what are you talking about? ACTIVZ is for everybody. And absolutely, that's correct. It's for everybody. Everybody can use our products. They can benefit from it, no matter what age, no matter what gender, no matter what demographics they come from, they can use our products. However, I'm going to encourage you to choose a couple of target audiences that you particularly are involved in. People buy and people become a part of a business because they identify with the person they're talking to about. So if you identify target audiences or people that you think would be good in ACTIVZ, both in mainly in the business, right? Because everybody can enjoy the products. You want to target people that are a lot like you, because they will understand what you're saying to them quicker, because they get it, right? They get you, you're cool, you understand them. I'm the sports mom, right? So I'm giving a lot of optimin out to my son's teammates. And he's in college, so I'm not going around, mom and dad, but the teammates that see Justin do so well on optimin, they want to know what he's doing. And of course, Justin is like, well, talk to my mom, here's my bottle of optimin. But that's one target area, right? My college students, college athletes. Also, I have a tendency to be pretty good in business. So I hang out with a lot of business people. So I'm always wanting to talk to people about businesses. And then obviously church people, right? So I'm targeting people in environments that I'm at. And a lot of them are my age, right? I'm 50 something, and a woman going through menopause, right? Brain fog. And so I'm talking to a lot of them that are a lot like me. They get me, I get them. So it's an easier identification and an easier mix of building a relationship. And what is ACTIVZ? What is the business of ACTIVZ? It's building the relationships that are going to be long lasting. So you're looking for people that are going to get you out of the gate. Now, not everybody's going to say yes. We know that, but they're more likely to say yes if they identify with you and what you're saying. So that doesn't mean you can't, here and there talk to people that come up and want to talk to you about actives. Of course, never turn anyone away. But to build your business quickly, identify those that are your target market. Next, know where these market people hang out, right? Okay, so I told you sports. Well, a lot of sports I go to. I go to all my kids' sports. And if I have friends that have kids' sports, I want to go there. I'm a sports fanatic, okay? So I'm always wearing my active shirt, which I got on, you can't hardly see it. I got an active shirt on, or my hat, or something that'll attract attention to me. I always have a little bit of information in my back pocket, right, to hand out, my card. I do have business cards, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but something that they can walk away with knowing who I am and who I'm going to talk to them. So I'll talk to them about anything. I'm like Naomi, I can talk to the tree, right, and convince them, hopefully. But when you want to go, identify where these people are. So sport, for me, it's sporting events, networking events, community business events, church activities, things like that. So I start narrowing down what I'm looking for and where I'm going to see these people. And that's where I'm going to target my efforts in my first round of marketing and my first round of introducing actives to people. So tip number 4. Oh, did I miss number 3? No, let's see. Okay, tip number 4, sell by storytelling. And there's so many different ways to do that. You need to understand that your target market needs actives products, right? We're offering them the wonderful products and the wonderful business opportunity that is really second to none, right? But how are you going to get that information out? Well, as I said earlier, I do give business cards out and I do get information, but the best way to get your information out is to know why you're in actives to begin with and know your products and be able to just tell it straight up, honest, heartfelt to anybody who would listen why you chose actives and why you're in actives and what they could do for them. Our corporate people do great things. This is one of their corporate slides. They give you a lot of information that you can use on social media, which we're going to talk about shortly. This is a story. Did you know? How do you feel? Start by telling them all about you, your neighbor. I talked about my dog on testimonials. There's so many stories out there related to actives, the success in the business and the success of the products. And if you can just put in your head that you can say that to someone, and it doesn't have to be elaborate. It doesn't have to be this grandeur story. It's just the amount of getting the information out and letting people know that our products and our business opportunity is something they just really need in their business, in their life to better themselves both mentally and physically. So and you know what, with storytelling, practice. Get in a mirror, write your mirror. See, there's Southern accent there. Mirror, and talk about your story to yourself. Give yourself you want about a 30-second, what do we call the elevator pitch of why you're with actives. That's about as long as you get with your first introduction to someone, your 30 seconds. So get it down pat, make it so it's not down pat in their view, but down pat in your view. So you're okay to just talk about it. It gives you the opening statement and then be yourself and be real. And you can't help but love us, right? All our actives people can't help but love us. We're energetic and we're happy and we're doing things with our lives. So, all right, tip number 5. We want to distinguish yourself with unique branding. Now, actives, their one unique branding to begin with was actives is the only company with epigenetic supplements, right? So we can always use that as a basics of unique branding. But when we go back to when you talk about your target market, you need to just distinguish who you are. What makes you different? Why should they listen to you? Well, that gets to your story. That gets to how do you market your story and what's unique about it? Well, it's easy to answer, right? We have a lot of material. We have these calls that talk about all of the things that the products do. And we know through our business opportunity that our compensation and our business plan is just the most amazing plan out there in the world. Okay, that's maybe, yeah, in the world. And so all we need to know is how to get that out to people. And our corporate people our corporate has done a lot to create in your back office marketing materials and sheets that you can have. But don't be afraid to create your own unique stuff. We encourage it. And if you like it and you think it's working, share it with us, right? We are a family here and we're a team. So we want to make sure that we can distinguish ACTIVZ as the best epigenetic company out there, the best direct sales company out there. And how do we do that? We utilize the truth. We utilize what our products do, and we utilize the amazing business opportunity that we have. Tip number 6, and this gets back to Naomi, where she said she had only 2 hours to do every day. Well, you want to book as many meetings as you possibly can. Now, I have meetings like this because nowadays, through technology, meetings can come in several different avenues, right? So we're going to talk about that in a minute. But meetings is you pick up the phone or send an email or a text, and you start letting people know that you're involved in ACTIVZ and why you're involved in it, right? There's so many direct sales companies and so many multi-level marketing coaches out there that have a variety of different ways that you can set your meetings. There's plenty of information on how to do that. But I'm going to tell you the best way to do it is to pick up your phone and just be real. That's it. Pick up the phone. Don't make up a story. Don't try to be cutesy. Just be you, right? Have you ever heard the term, you be you? Well, I'm telling you, that's what you need to do with ACTIVZ because it sells itself. It absolutely does. And that personal interaction is the most powerful tool when growing your team. Because as I said earlier, people join people that they identify with and they like. And if you're real and if you're just sharing your story and you're sharing what ACTIVZ can do to someone's life, you can't help but be successful. But the only way you're going to do that is to book as many meetings as you can. And that means you take your spare time, whatever it is, 1 hour, 2 hours, half a day, whatever you have, and use it. If you're driving somewhere and someone's driving you, that's a free time. Pick it up, right? Book as many meetings as you can. The more meetings you book, the quicker you will grow your business. As Naomi says, it's just a lot of numbers, right? And that's in any business. It's not just in direct sales. It's in any business. The more contacts that you make, the quicker and the faster you're going to grow. All right, tip number 7. Okay, so now you've connected with these people. What are you gonna do? Follow up, follow up, follow up, follow up, follow up, right? Ideas are important as long as you do something about them. They're not good if they're just sitting here and you're not getting them out into the people that you really want to know what you're doing. So follow up, set yourself a schedule, right? There's plenty, as Naomi says, we have our success plan, and they tell you in the success plan how to do your follow-ups. As you know, it takes anywhere from 5 to 7 touches for someone to really get connected to a business opportunity or to buying a product. It's usually not a one touch, one sale, right? So always follow up and don't give up. All right. Not everybody's going to say yes out of the gate. But that doesn't mean that's no. It just means that maybe it's not the right time, right? Or maybe they just need some more information. So you've got to continue what we call dripping on them, right? Every once in a while, pick up the phone and call them, or pick up, send them an email or a text saying, hey, we got a new product out, or hey, there's a new meeting out, or hey, there's a testimony out. Make sure you're giving them value when you reach out to them, though. Don't just reach out and say, hey, I want to know if you're ready to join. Hey, I want to know if you're ready to join, because that seems as if you're not concerned about what their situations are, what their time is. You always want to be giving them some type of reason to talk to you, right? So, but always follow up and get that follow-up schedule down in your brain or on a calendar, right? I'm going to talk to this person this date. All right, I'm going to follow up 3 days later and ask them if they watched my video. I'm going to follow up 5 days after that. Get yourself a system that you consistently use for follow-up for all your prospects until they sign, right? And it could be as quick as tomorrow they sign, or it could be, as I saw my brothers on this call, it could be 3 years after you first initially tell them. So don't give up. Follow up, follow up, follow up. And I won't tell you who my brother is, but most of you know already. And I saw him pop on. All right, tip number 8, harness the power of social media. As we talked earlier, I told you that there are several ways to have meetings, right? So by harnessing the power of social media, you're going to use the internet to help bring the growth you need to your ACTIVZ business, right? You can use it. And I'm going to tell you something that David Brown has always told me and continues to tell me, right? There is the traditional marketing that always works, right? The personal interaction always works. When you talk to someone, when you're connecting with them, it's always going to work better than just by the internet. But you can use the social media, right, to expand your network of friends and families to a larger group of potential customers. The greatest benefit of social media for sales is the ability to create a new community, right, where you can build trust and you can show your authority in the industry and in ACTIVZ. So you use it to foster and to continue to create and continue to reach out to those that you're building your team with, new communities and things like that, to continue to get ACTIVZ's name out there and to continue to get showing your involvement in ACTIVZ and showing that you are still continuing to be a leader and moving and a shaker in ACTIVZ. So people like to see that as a confirmation. And there's so many different ways now to utilize that through all of the platforms. You can target your platforms, you can do broadcast, podcasts, you can do so much in social media. And that's a whole different discussion than today, or I will be going over my 20 minutes. So I'm going to continue on, but don't forget social media. And the company has used, ACTIVZ back office has used so many different videos, scripts, pictures, everything that you need to get yourself in social media at a minimal time commitment, right? You don't have to create all the content yourself. We have it. All of these pictures that you're seeing today have been created by corporate. So I'm showing you an example of what you can pull off of the Facebook page that you can use in your own backyard, in your Facebook and your Instagram and whatever area that you are specialized in social media platforms. So use them and just continue to keep yourself out in the market. All right, tip number 3, great strategic partnerships. Now, this one we don't talk about a lot, but I'm going to tell you that it is great. There are some people, for some reason, that's not going to get in ACTIVZ, right? Or whatever that is. And there could be people that are in other companies that are not competitors to ACTIVZ. So I would suggest that you do some strategic partnership. Now, I'm going to call it cross promotion. This is not cross recruiting, and that's a whole nother topic. Do not go after people's downlines or anything like this. But what I'm talking about is using these partnerships with people who might not have gotten in the business yet in ACTIVZ or in something else, and partner with them to do activities that are related to your business. That means you can do events, or you can do podcasts, or you can do blogs that you're talking about a particular topic, and you all together create synergy that will bring the two together, but not compete against each other. And why is this important? Is because this will allow you to reduce your marketing costs and will naturally help you network and advertise yourself in other situations and in other events that you might not otherwise come in contact with. I'm going to give you an example. Sometimes online business coaches, they'll do a Zoom or they'll do a podcast, and they'll have one of them will have a specialty in something, and another one will have a specialty in another area. They don't cross, but they work together to present information. However, now they both have gotten their names out. And so this is an opportunity that find you some strategic business partnerships or some strategic marketing partnerships that you can partner with and advance yourself with ACTIVZ, and also create a new relationship, business relationship, that you all can depend on each other for advancement of business relationships. All right, number 10. All right, you always should highlight testimonials. We talked about selling your story. Well, it's also good to sell other people's stories, right? And we have tons and tons of testimonials in our back office and on site. We are so committed to our testimonials that we have a monthly call, which you see on here, for testimonials to share on all avenues of what we do. One of the foundations for the successful ACTIVZ business is these testimonials. Remember, your prospects want to know why to get involved. And there's always a doubt when you're talking about net direct sales, and really any kind of sales, whether your product actually does what it says it's going to do, right? Well, testimonials is a great way to bust that falsehood of, you know, your company's a scam, right? Or you're only selling your products to get, or you're selling the products to get me in order to, you know, make money off of you. Heck no, we don't do that. That is not ACTIVZ. We have great products and we have the testimonials to prove it. And these testimonials can say things and tell the stories that you just can't do through a piece of paper or through a brochure or through a slideshow. The testimonials are real and to the heart, and people can identify with them. And we have them from all over the world and targeting all sorts of different issues that are in our mind and our bodies from different people with different circumstances. So testimonials are just one of the most amazing and true ways to get out the realness and the how incredibly lucky and blessed we all are to have ACTIVZ in our lives, right? Both on the products and in the business side. That's as plain as simple as testimonies can be. And then make sure you have your own, right? Because people are going to want to know. It goes back to your story. What is your testimony? Why are you a part of ACTIVZ? Okay, tip 11. All right, we talked about networking socially and doing your social media. Well, I'm going back and giving this to David again, because this is where he preaches. Make sure that you don't forget that traditional network marketing, or what we would call in-person networking, is the most effective way to build your business. Why? Because it allows you to build one-on-one or face-to-face communities and relationships. And that's what's going to be long-lasting in your ability to build the company and have your business grow and have ACTIVZ grow. And what are some of these things that I'm talking about? Well, how about those in-home parties that we used to do? What about events in the community that we used to do? How about being a community sponsor of something and being one of the keynote speakers or being a speaker at some event as through your sponsorships? There's so many different ways that you can network in your local environment that will allow you to have face-to-face, one-on-one interactions. I'm telling you what, after COVID and after being on remote at home, people are wanting communities. People are wanting to talk to people and have people, like-minded people, come together to enjoy each other's companies, right? We do that in order not to have to, we want to build our brains back, right? We want to feel like we're wanted. And you need to know that they want to feel wanted too. So this is the best way to build our business. Network, do a one-on-one, and start building relationships, right? The products in the business gets you the first step to getting people on your team, but it's how you deal with those people and building the relationship and community that keep them on your team. So network, and do it in person. And then my last tip is going to be tip number 12, be persistent and committed. Now, you all are probably wondering, David says, I've been here since the beginning, right? And I have. I met David in 2016, and I was one of the first people to jump on board. But I got sidetracked. All right, let's say it what it is. I got sidetracked. haven't been consistent, and I haven't done my strategies and grow my business like it should have been. Right. In my opinion, I should be like, or I want to be, right, one of the biggest and top producers in this company. I'm sure all of you are saying the same thing. So my little ego is just echoing what you guys are saying too. But I wasn't persistent and I wasn't consistent. And my commitment failed every so often. But I'm back, right? So I'm telling you, it's never too late to continue. So if this is your first time in and this is new to you, keep going, be persistent, be committed, and just know that it works, because it does. We have proof. We have people in the company that are that have built their business to the top levels of the company. I, however, am not, but I'm going to be. So how do I do that? I'm going to listen to myself and do all 12 of these. I'm going to take Naomi's, all of her, what she said, and put it inside and start being the person that I want to be in ACTIVZ. And so I know that with all of you guys that are out there, you are going to be amazing. Don't worry, it's not always going to be perfect. I wish I could tell you it is, but it's going to be close to it if you listen to all of your leaders here and let corporate help you. So with my last two, I'm going to tell you, at ACTIVZ, we are with you every step of your way to the top. And each and every one of you that are on this call has the ability to be at the top. And take your team too, not just you. It's everybody in your team needs to be at the top. And with that, let's work, grow, and live with ACTIVZ. That's it. Thanks, Stu.
Well, that was awesome, Karen. Thank you very much. Words of wisdom. Again, I think is a perfect tie-in with what Noemi was talking about. We couldn't have planned that to be any better. So thank you very much. We're going to move in and now invite our special speaker to join us. I got to know Al Czap first in 1994. I had just joined the industry as a lawyer, and unfortunately, that was the first bad impression I made upon Al, was as a lawyer, and that's an entirely different story that he and I still chuckle about all these years later. But over the years, at that time, he was the founder and the CEO of a company called Thorne Research, a very large company that became a very large provider of supplements in the practitioner space. And now he is the founder and I'm not even sure your official title at Tesseract. Are you the CEO, Al, or whatever? I know you're a founder, whatever you are, and you're on mute right now, by the way. But we're glad to have Al with us, and some of you know the story that when we were first starting out and wondering about what products to introduce into the United States and ultimately around the world, I was just thinking about things one Sunday afternoon, and the thought came to my mind, I should call Al Czap. And I had not talked to Al in a long time, and we renewed our acquaintance, and because of that, we now have these wonderful products in Link and OptimEnd, and with more on the way. I can tell you that. I'm not going to get ahead of myself, but with no further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Al to talk to us about science, his background, and whatever else is on his mind. Al, welcome. Good morning.
Thank you. It's good to be here. I'm glad we go back a long way, David. It's been a good journey. I started in this industry in 1980, and I'll just give you a very quick brief thing. The thing that you're going to get today, I mean, you're eager for testimonials, but what I'm going to give you is medical fact from case studies. And I'll be talking to a large group of physicians at their annual meeting in Scottsdale in 5 weeks. And accompanying me will be Dr. Fullerton, who's a major physician. He is, he's the one that the managed care facilities go to tell them what protocol they should use for their elderly patients with various diseases. And we have things that are going to surprise the entire medical world in 5 weeks. And you get to, since we're not saying the name of products at this because it has continuing medical education credits, you're not allowed to do that. We'll be talking about generic tetrahydrocurcumin or butyric acid. So going into this, started my company in 1984, Thorn Research, sold it in 2010, and they're still going strong. They went public, and now they're a $300 million company. They moved to a building constructed in the Carolinas. I also published, I don't know if you can see this, the Alternative Medicine Review, which was indexed on CINAHL, Embase, Index Medicus, and PubMed, and it was the definitive journal. Published that for 17 years until I sold the company. It was a definitive preventive medical journal in the world, and it was all peer-reviewed and it was all actual fact. So after selling my company and ostensibly retiring, spent a few years with my incredible wife. We would travel, got back from a trip to Italy, and she had some GI problems. And we tried some of the things from the past. And I thought, well, what I need to do is get her to take butyric acid. So I got her some sodium butyrate, and she took it and promptly threw up in the sink. And I went, it's the most horrible molecule in the world. Your body's producing it as you're sitting here, but it's the most beneficial molecule in your body. So I had to go back to the old stuff that I'd done many, many years ago. And I don't know if you can see this very well. You can take a molecule and you can put it into a little dextrin cage so that one molecule actually fits inside that cage and it gets separated from all the other molecules around it. And this molecule can now be delivered through your wall of your intestine, one molecule at a time. Odor pretty much goes away, increase of solubility, which is important. So if you're going to cook eggs in the morning, put a little olive oil in your pan, turn the heat on, and the olive oil doesn't just spread perfectly across the bottom of the pan. It wants to get together with its friends. So it moves around, it sits in the corners. You want to put the egg in, but you want that olive oil to be completely homogeneous. It's not going to work because they want to be together. So when your body is taking in nutrients, your digestive system has to break them down so they get to be individual molecules going through the gut wall. And you don't, in proteins, you don't want long chain peptides. You want your digestive system to break proteins down to amino acids because then they're not allergenic. And when you have things that are fat soluble, you have to emulsify them and make it so that it will actually get through the gut wall. And what happens is that almost all the supplements you see out there and many of the medicines are not actually soluble. So you have to make them soluble, or a pharmaceutical company will come along and say, well, we sprayed this on a matrix with certain dextrin and we made it so it's more soluble, but it's still a bunch of molecules that are now a little more soluble. What we're doing is we're taking each molecule, pulling them away from their friends, putting it into a little cage, goes into your system, gets released slowly through the intestinal tract. And we have the enzyme in the patent. The enzyme actually breaks down that little dextrin cage and lets that molecule go free. So where we are is people, especially, it's funny in the medical community, everyone says, well, I need to see all these studies published in the New England Journal of Medicine or, in some scientific publication for quercetin, which is a flavonoid. And what's funny is they will read a 12-page medical journal article, and it will talk about the effect of quercetin on histamine release in a rat. So whether the rat's all stuffed up and the quercetin is going to help them. And they'll give them a dose and they'll have wonderful results, but the doctor doesn't go to the paragraph. It's like 4 sentences. It's in the middle of that article, and it's methods and materials. And you'll find this in so many journal articles on so many substances. And it says, quercetin is not soluble. So we mixed it with DMSO, which is a solvent that you can't have as a supplement. And you just can't take it. So that made it soluble. So therefore the quercetin now worked in the mouse or the rat. But what ends up happening is so many of these studies are like that, and it doesn't make it real life in real time unless you have an ingredient that is already soluble. So you get to something like the tetrahydrocurcumin. I mean, in India and Pakistan, they sit around and they'll chew on turmeric root and they'll use it as a spice and make curry. And it has health benefits, but it's only a very small amount of curcumin in there. So curcumin got isolated. People did studies and went, wow, this works really well for inflammation, but you got to solubilize it. And then they came up with white curcumin, which is tetrahydrocurcumin, and it is actually even more anti-inflammatory and more active. but it's still not soluble. So you get a certain amount of benefits. In the old days, Dr. Bastyr, who was the naturopath, he was God. Back in the 70s, he would say, well, you take 3 tablespoons of quercetin, you mix it with some orange juice, and you give it to the patient, it'll help their allergies. Well, that's 3 grams. You should be able to, if you solubilize quercetin, a couple of 100 milligrams will do the same thing or even better. So you get the same thing with the curcumin. I was on the phone yesterday with a medical doctor in Arizona, and he is, at the Sonoran University. And he was, we were talking about the tetrahydrocurcumin, and he said, what's interesting is not only is it anti-inflammatory, but he's got a number of people who have had a dependency on opioid painkillers, and they've been able to get off of that because the curcumin is working so well. And he said, in my case, he said, I had a cancer that was operable. And when I got out of the surgery, I started taking large doses of the tetrahydrocurcumin, the soluble one, ours and yours. And what ended up happening was I was back at work on the 3rd day. And he said, it should have been 10 days. And he said, I attribute that completely and solely to the anti-inflammatory effect of the tetrahydrocurcumin. So you get the advantage of my research and my patent, where all of this, we just got granted in the US, we got granted the one for soluble liver safe acetaminophen, which is a totally different picture than you want to be involved in. But in 5 years, we'll have liver safe Tylenol, and nobody can kill themselves with it. So in that patent, in the body of it, there's a whole lot of different things that we have. And one of them in there is the butyric acid. And when David called me, and we talked about what would be the best thing in the world to have as a product in a company, and I said, well, my opinion, butyric acid. And he was foresightful enough to nod his head, because you get to have the benefit of this. I mean, this is, in the next 2 or 3 years, this is going to be the most important product in medicine. So I'm going to jump sideways real quickly, and I'm going to talk about glutathione. So glutathione is a fabulous molecule. It's made by your liver, and it neutralizes toxins. So, you decide, well, it's my daughter's birthday, I'm going to drink 3/4 of a bottle of champagne. You go to bed and you feel horrible in the morning. If you were to take 2 or 3 capsules of soluble glutathione, you wouldn't have a hangover, because it will neutralize the alcohol bad effects. The problem is there's a company that's called Cogent, and they're a Japanese pharmaceutical firm. They're huge, and they make probably most of the glutathione that you'll see anywhere. And they decided a number of years ago, about 7 or 8 years ago, I think it was, they're going to spend a whole bunch of money, and they're going to go to a university and go through and do a complete study on the absorption of glutathione, and they're going to show how incredibly well absorbed their product is. So they did this whole study, and then the embarrassing part is they didn't get to not publish it because they had committed to it. So when you get done with the study and you look at it, it basically says it didn't really change blood levels of glutathione at all. So all the stuff that everybody has out there is in glutathione land, in the health food stores and the professional doctor products, it's going through into the toilet. Now, the one that is soluble that we have the blood studies, and you can increase out of 20 patients, the least increase we had was 27% in the blood, and the most was 230%. So these are unheard of numbers. So we're going to take and move sideways back to the butyrate. One of the problems with butyrate is you are producing it right now as we talk, and butyrate is produced from soluble fiber. So that's why you eat your veggies. And if you don't eat your veggies, you don't produce butyrate. But if you get an imbalance in your GI tract, and you basically soluble fiber, the reason you eat fiber isn't so it looks good, or when you're flushing the toilet, embarrassingly, but the reason for fiber in your diet is only 3 things. You have microbes that will produce acetic acid, which is vinegar, propionic acid, which is toxic, that's burned in the cells as a fuel, and butyric acid, the God molecule. And so what ends up happening is it's kind of like an oil refinery. You get crude oil, and some of it makes diesel, some of it makes gasoline, and some makes jet fuel. And butyric acid is the jet fuel. If you get an imbalance and one team of workers starts producing too much propionic acid, and then the other team over here that's making butyric acid gets outnumbered and gets bullied a little bit, you're producing too much propionic acid. And if I gave you 1 drop of propionic acid, put it in a little atomizer like a Dristan bottle, and you went in 30 seconds, you'd be convulsing, you'd be banging into the walls, you would not have control of your motor functions, and your brain would be on fire. And if you make too much propionic acid, you end up with that problem. And there's a direct correlation between the level of propionic acid in your body and how it assaults the brain. And it's like a wasp stinger. And you find it higher levels in autistic children and in Parkinson's patients, to a certain extent in MS and ALS patients, but mostly you'll find the success is in Parkinson's patients and autistic patients. So what ends up happening, you can look it up online, or talk to someone who's a physician and say, well, do you see constipation in these patients? Almost every autistic child and almost every Parkinson's patient has constipation because your brain is being assaulted by propionic acid. So your brain is sending a signal to your gut and saying, we need butyric acid to get rid of this inflammation and this fire in our body and in our brain, and we need to quench that propionic acid. So where do we get butyric acid? We get it from fiber. So your body says, I need more fiber. And your doctor says, well, you're constipated, you need more fiber. The downside is you're just giving more fuel to the bad guys who are making propionic acid. And there's actually a disease called propionic acidemia, where a child is born and genetically they take protein from mother's milk, and there are 3 amino acids in that protein, and their body genetically has a defect and it converts it to propionic acid, and in 7 to 10 days they die. If a doctor or a nurse notices the child has a major problem, then the child doesn't get to eat protein the rest of their life, or just minuscule amounts. So propionic acid is a horrible thing. And what ends up happening is we are doing studies right now, and these are being done in San Rafael. And the physician that's doing them, as I mentioned, is got thousands of patients, and he is tied into some of the large managed care groups, and he's the one that sets the protocol for everything. He's using my protocol on his Parkinson's patients, and in 35 years of practice, he's never seen results like this. One is they reduce the amount of soluble fiber because you're taking away from those little bad microbes the food that they need. So your body is fine with what acetic acid you have. You want to stop the source of propionic acid, so you're cutting that soluble fiber by 90%. You don't want to go to the store and buy a loaf of bread that has in the middle of the ingredients calcium propionate. That's bad for Parkinson's, that's bad for autism, because it's a source of propionic acid. The FDA considers it natural because you make it in your body. So you can see a thing of bread that says all natural, no artificial preservatives, but will have calcium propionate. And that is an anti-mold agent. So what we're doing with the Parkinson's patient is we're cutting their soluble fiber back by 80, 90%. We're introducing the soluble butyrate, which you have, and we're giving them anywhere from 3 to 5 capsules twice a day. And then, we are also in some of them adding some of the glutathione, and some we're not. So what we're going to be revealing when we get to Arizona is, this is just a quick overview. I picked 4 patients here that have already gone long enough in a study for ulcerative colitis. We'll get to that as far as the etiology of butyric acid and ulcerative colitis, but this stuff is dramatic. These are people who have ulcerative colitis with irritable bowel, Crohn's, they have inflamed guts, they have diarrhea all the time. I mean, they can't hold stuff in. And if you have diarrhea all the time, how is your body going to make any butyric acid from the fiber you eat, because it's going in the toilet? So here's patient number 13. Stool frequency went from 100 down to 10, and this is in a couple of weeks. Abdominal pain went from 90 down to 10. Gas and bloating went from 80 down to 10. The quote is, "It's magical how effective this is." This is our soluble butyrate that you're using. The quality of life improvement, I gained weight from an underweight level to a healthy weight. I gained 20 pounds, expanded my diet, went from severe diarrhea, severe, every day to feeling almost normal. Patient 4, abdominal pain, 80 when they started. At the end of this study, this is a few weeks, 0. Gas and bloating, 80 went to 0. Immediate appetite increase, gained weight from underweight level to healthy weight. Delighted about management of pain, gas, bloating issues, and I want to continue the supplement. These are people that were on the pharmaceutical products for years, and it did nothing. So we have patient 22, stool frequency went from 80 to 10, abdominal pain, 80 down to 10, no longer sluggish, diet expanded, increased energy, no more cramping, feel like a regular person. And last one, patient 7, stool frequency from 80 down to 10, abdominal pain, 80 down to 10, gas and bloating from 60 to 10, really helped. I can travel and I'm stabilized. I want to continue the supplement, and I'm able to eat more diverse foods. So this is just moving from Parkinson's and autism. Butyric acid is critical for people who have gut issues. And so the study that we're doing, he's going to be going through and revealing all these benefits of the butyrate, the soluble butyrate, for ulcerative colitis and also for Parkinson's. So the patients that he has with Parkinson's have gone in the moderate to mild cases where they're, a couple of years into it and they're 20-30% affected. They have gone to where there are no symptoms. They are not taking, they don't want to take the dopa anymore, L-dopa. Their families are ecstatic. These people have gone from this to nothing. And their life has changed. And it's simply because they've cut out that fiber feeding the bad guys and they started taking the butyrate supplementation. And the anti-inflammatory effect on the body and on the brain is dramatic. So what else can we do with butyrate? The tetrahydrocurcumin, you're looking at unbelievably good anti-inflammatory. So in a nutshell, it is not a one-dimensional product, but it is, it can handle a certain part of medical health. The butyrate, on the other hand, is the most stunning thing in the world. So you have gut issues, whether that's IBS, IBD, Crohn's, ulcerative colitis, everything that goes on in the gut. That is indicated. So moving on from that, you've got the Parkinson's and the autism. Now, the autistic child, in our arena, we have it also as a powder. I got a letter yesterday from Portugal, and it is someone whose child is autistic, and they put him on the powdered soluble butyrate, and it turned the child around. And they are so ecstatic, they want to write about it in their upcoming book. And they also deal a whole lot of commerce in that part of Europe. And so they're asking whether they can sell the product on their website, the butyrate. So you would be amazed. I kind of told a story before, David. I don't know how much time you want me to take, but when I started dealing with the butyrate for my wife's gut issues, I had told a few doctors about, I've got this soluble, non-stinky butyrate that actually is working on people. So I'll give you a couple of quick examples. I got a call from Mark Hyman, and if you watch TV and go to the public station, he's talking all the time about diet and healthy foods and all this. And I know Mark very well. And Mark had ulcerative colitis, and he works with the Cleveland Clinic. They could do nothing. He went to Josh, who is the head of Crohn's research and colitis research at Harvard, and they tried their whole program, nothing. So Mark was talking to Dr. Perlmutter and said, I don't know what to do. And David said, call Al. So we sent him some of the pilot batch, and in 10 days, his ulcerative colitis was over. And it's in my patent if you want to look it up. I have a 2-page or 3-page testimonial from Dr. Hyman about his ulcerative colitis, what was going on. Mike Bauerschmidt, who is the president of the Medical Association, heard about it, and he has an ostomy, which is not a condition. It's wonderful. You've got the little pouch where they've cut out your large intestine and your bowel for the most part, and you got a poop bag. And he'd had inflammatory problems with it before and infections. They moved it, and then it'd been a couple of years, and it came back, and they tried everything, and they said, well, if we do another surgery, you may die. So he sent me pictures, and it's not something you'd want to show at the dinner table. It was horrible. I said, I have no idea what's going to happen. I will send you some of the butyrate soluble powder, and you can try it. Lo and behold, in a couple of weeks, he sent me a picture, and it was pink and healthy, and he's still doing well. He could have died from that. So the one that really got me was Max. I'm sorry. He's an autistic kid locally. And Max couldn't tie his shoes. I mean, he's 6 years old. He wanted to be a big boy, couldn't tie his shoes. Hands over his ears when he went outside, hide under his mother's coat. And he was verbal, but he didn't look you in the eye. And he was an autistic kid. And so I said to his mom, you can talk to your doctor, but maybe you want to just try a little butyrate, because I'd seen this research on butyrate and propionic acid and autism by Dr. McFade. And so she gives him a teaspoon at dinner time, December 16th, 5 years ago. The next morning, she gives him a teaspoon. Right afternoon, he tied his shoes. 2 days later, mom has his vitamins, says, Maxie, it's time for your vitamins. And he points at the green tea extract from my old company, Thorn. He says, Mommy, I like that. It makes my brain feel good. And he's looking at her. She's going, what's going on? I mean, she couldn't believe this kid is now communicating. He pointed at the Pharmagaba, which is gamma aminobutyric acid. He'd been taking it for 2 years. And he said, no, Mommy, I never want to take that. It makes angry voices and they hurt me. It hurts my brain. So he couldn't tie his shoes. He also could not tell her that whole time and communicate, because the propionic acid in his brain was so great, his lips could not say, Mommy, this is killing me. It was heart-wrenching. So Max is now, 5 years later, he's the star pitcher, the star hitter on the local baseball team. And, he's still autistic, but he's so much better. And depending on how much damage is done to the brain, how much you can help someone with butyric acid who's in the autism or Parkinson's arena. So what ends up happening is, another anecdote is, I have a friend, Cooper. He went to school with his buddy, and his grandfather of John is Sam, and I can't tell you his last name. He's a multi-billionaire, and his name's on real estate all over the country. And Sam is 82 or 83 and has Parkinson's, and it's getting advanced. And so they said, well, you talk to Sam. And I said, well, sure, I'll get on the phone with him. So Sam says, well, I have billions of dollars. He says, I have private jets. I've been to every clinic in the world. Everyone that promises they can help with Parkinson's, nothing. Doesn't move the needle. And if nothing, I just keep getting worse. And he says, my grandson says, you might know how to help me. So I said, well, you can talk to your doctor, but I'll send you the protocol, the diet, and I'll just send you some of the butyrate, the soluble butyrate. 10 days later, he calls and goes, I don't understand. He says, I feel 25% better. This is just unbelievable. How come doctors and clinics don't know about this? And I said, well, because pharmaceutical companies want to make billions of dollars, and me, I don't care. So a couple months pass, I'm talking to Cooper, and he says, too bad about Sam. I said, what? He said, well, he went to his neurologist after about 6 or 8 weeks, and the neurologist looked at it and said, this is total BS. I don't want you taking this supplement crap. He said, this is unproven BS. So now Sam is shaken and right back where he was with his Parkinson's. So you have, even if you just go on Amazon and look up R-soluble butyrate, you've got some testimonials from people that are just stunning. So let's move a little further. I look at stuff where I try to figure out, I take the path that's not traveled. I always look at stuff of, well, why don't they try this? And so The physician who's doing our studies, his assistant she's probably 25 or 26, really sweet, really smart. And she has what's known as Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And this is a genetic disease, which is your life expectancy, if it gets to your heart, is about 40 years of age. And if you lived in the 30s or 40s or 50s and you went to a carnival, you'd have the freak show. And the freak show would be someone who could sit there and they could pull on their skin would go up 4 inches. So there's the elasticity of all your cells and your collagen in your skin, everything, it doesn't have that cohesion. They can take their wrist and turn it almost 180 degrees, put their feet behind their head. So this is Ehlers-Danlos, but one of the downsides of Ehlers-Danlos is, since you have all this tissue problem, everything from your mouth to your rear end is inflamed and has many, many, many problems. So if you go online, you can do it when we get done. It's Ehlers-Danlos, EHLERS-DANLOS syndrome. And you go to the Mayo Clinic and Ehlers-Danlos, it says genetic disease, no treatment, no cure, take Tylenol. So I talked to Dr. Fullerton and I said, why don't we try her on the butyrate? A week later, she sends me an email and says, this is life-changing. It's a game changer. It has completely changed my life. I've gone from not being able to eat virtually any food because I get reactions to it. I'm underweight. She says, I am gaining weight. I'm able to eat things I've dreamed of and never been able to do before. And I feel so much better. It's just changed my life. So she's gone on, and there are groups that are, support groups for Ehlers-Danlos, and then there are support groups for many different genetic diseases. So she's gone on and she's told everybody about it. So it started as an N of 1, and in science, everybody goes, well, an N of 1 doesn't mean anything. Well, an N of 1 is not significant. I mean, just one person doing something, if it's just a little tiny change. So that's why if you want to see a way to lower cholesterol, you need 1,000 people. And then if they lower their cholesterol 10 points, it's significant. But if one person lowers their cholesterol 15 points, it doesn't mean anything. But when you have an N of 1 that is stunning, like this patient, or an N of 1 that is an ulcerative colitis patient, like the guy that does my pool out here, that for the last 15 years has had to go to the bathroom 10 times a day and wears a diaper. And then within 3 days on the butyrate, it's all gone. And it's been 3 years. And, I just give him free butyrate because he can't afford it. Moving on. My wife's daughter's boyfriend is severe celiac, gluten intolerant, and his life has been, kind of miserable. He's 35 years old and it's just, his life sucks. So he can't eat anything. And if he's in a restaurant and someone has cooked something that has wheat and a crumb of it gets onto the eggs that he's eating, he spends a week in bed, just about dying, just holding himself and just feeling horrible. So I just said, Chase, why don't you try the butyrate? Just because it's good for inflammation of the gut. After a month, he's been exposed a couple of times. He said it went from 5 days, he said, to about 5 or 6 hours of discomfort. It was discomfortable, but by the end of the day, I could go to sleep, get up the next day, and it was like it didn't happen. So my thing is to try and find different uses for things that I know are therapeutic. And where we are is that if we've got the best gun and the best bullet, I mean, let's find some other targets. And I'm going to keep on doing that. Dr. Perlmutter, who I mentioned earlier, is one of the most famous neurologists you can find. And when I first came out with butyrate, I sent him some, and that's why he had experience with it when he talked to Dr. Hyman. And he gave it to a couple of ALS patients, which is Lou Gehrig's disease. And there is no cure, and there is nothing that's ever stopped it. And it is not making them dramatically better, but it stopped the progression. And it's the only thing in the world that's ever done that. So you don't get to go out and say, well, we've got something that'll stop Lou Gehrig's, because the FDA will put you in jail. But if you look at various groups of people who have problems, the butyrate is an amazing thing. I mean, for MS, it is not as dramatic as it is for Parkinson's or ulcerative colitis, but people with MS just feel so much better on it. So I'll end with one of my pet peeves, which is the associations that are grouped together, and they're ostensibly there to help patients with MS or autism or Parkinson's or whatever it might be. And if you look carefully, you'll find that none of them really does anything that helps these patients. And you've got a $1.6 billion association for Parkinson's, and they spent $200 million last year on a 4-year study where they took 20 patients with a specific genetic profile, and they did spinal taps, and they kept analyzing it until they found some molecule that was slightly different than other people, and it had folded over, and they're saying, well, this contributes to Parkinson's. And I'm just going, that's the stupidest thing in the world. Parkinson's is a problem of the gut imbalance. And what happens in autism, it's the same type of thing. You never see that they look at the gut. You never see that they look at the microbiome or any of these things that are important. What they do with autism is they create cute little programs for iPads so the child can learn with different colors. And then they'll spend $3 million on that. And so these associations, to me, I mean, I don't want to get off on a rant, but I think they're just a way to subsidize people with PhDs and MDs and researchers. And it becomes this complicated thing of keep contributing money until we find a cure, but they're on the wrong road too. And you're not going to have a cure. You can have treatments. So you can have something that'll help people with MS. You're not going to cure them. Help people with Parkinson's. You're not going to cure them. Help people with ulcerative colitis. You're not curing them, because if they walk away from the butyrate, things are going to kind of drop down again. So, David, what is your time like? Are we good?
Thank you, Al. That was great. We could listen to you all day, and you've been seriously. And it's interesting. People have heard me say things about testimonials that when I hear a testimonial, I would never say that that didn't work for that person, that they're not telling the truth.
Mhm.
But in the absence of science, I might not believe that that same benefit would happen to me. And you've just shown that we have both. We have the science, which explains why it's happening, and we have these unbelievable testimonials. And it's also, incredible to think about these molecules, these natural, God molecules that are just too big, or have other things that make it not easily absorbable by the body.
Mhm.
And so having the Psylocke delivery system, having that trap, so that we can get that goodness in us, so the body can really benefit, is really what it's all about. And I tie that kind of back to the earlier presentations by Karen and Noemi. Really what you're trying, all of those tips that you gave us were actually, how do you help other people absorb this information? How do you help them get it into their lives? It might be through testimonials. It might be through practice. It's all about absorbing and utilizing these things that are out there. And also, by the way, in answer to the question, why are you guys, if your products are so great, why are you an MLM? Why aren't you in pharmaceutical? Why aren't you retail? Can you imagine telling this story at the retail level, or trying to put the benefits of the science of butyrate on a label? That's really hard. I mean, this direct communication is the perfect medium. So you can tell the stories, you can explain the science, you can talk about testimonials. And I know, I don't know Mark Hyman well. I certainly know of him. He's very famous as a doctor. I do know David Perlmutter. He's also very famous as a neurologist. And these are the guys that, these are premier scientists and physicians in their field. And who do they turn to in these questions? The person you just spent a half an hour listening to. How's that? And go ahead.
Briefly, I forgot to mention one thing. Harvard University had planned on doing a study with ulcerative colitis, and they were going to use sodium butyrate. And after Dr. Hyman had such great results with our soluble butyrate, they dumped the entire study, went back to the FDA, went back to the independent review board at Harvard, and now they're They spent a whole lot of time changing the study. So they're using our soluble butyrate in their ulcerative colitis study. And this should start somewhere in the next few months. They got waylaid by COVID, of course. And then the other quick thing is, in about 5 weeks, once we give the data at this medical conference, and it's going to talk about butyrate for Parkinson's, butyrate for the gut, and you're going to have the ability to take that data and utilize it as, this is better than a testimonial. And, when he presents this data, it's going to be major. And we are right now working on having meetings with 5 or 6 of the largest managed care companies in the entire country. They have thousands of managed care facilities and millions of patients. And we will be doing, with any luck, duplicating what our doctor's done on a larger scale. So instead of 20 or 30 Parkinson's patients or ulcerative colitis patients, we'll be doing 2,000 or 3,000. And the managed care companies, once they see that a Parkinson's patient is costing them $75,000 a year or $100,000 a year, and they can cut that cost to 1/4 by just utilizing our protocol, they're going to be on board so fast, it's crazy. And it'll be the same thing for the ulcerative colitis, IBS, IBD, Crohn's people. So we're going to be changing medicine from inside. Instead of going out here and beating on the doors, we're just going to go in the back door and say, here we are. So, and you're going to get the benefit of it. And these are going to be better than any testimonial from an individual, because these are actual case studies. I mean, and it's like what I read to you about the ulcerative colitis. I mean, this is major stuff.
Well, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that with us. And for the rest of us, how does it feel to already have something available that Harvard wants and that these managed care companies want? They want what we already have. They're just now starting to see the light, and we've already got it. And that's when you talk about, when we say that ACTIVZ are on the cutting edge of scientific discovery and research, this is what we mean. This is exactly what we mean. So thanks again, Al. Thanks, Noemi.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Karen. It's great.
Glad I could join in, folks.
It's great to have you with us. And do you have any doubt in your mind whether Al believes this stuff? Don't believe. There's no doubt in my mind. So Stu, I'll turn it back to you, buddy.
All right. Take care.
Thanks, Al.
Thanks so much, Al, Noemi, and Karen. That was amazing. I learned so much from each and every one of your presentations. But more importantly, I think as a group, I think Noemi and Karen definitely said it best. We are edified together, and we're building our team and whatever we need to show the leadership and the management styles that you guys all brought out. And so I'm excited to what lies ahead for each and every one of us. I know we ran a little bit over time, and so I have the wheel of names prepared. I know Angie is off doing something, so let me go ahead, and it's been a while since I done this. So let me try and share it. There we go. Okay, we will spin for 2 names at 100 points. Okay, 2 names for 100 points. Here we go. Our first is our Zoom user, whoever is that. If that's your name that you put in there, please send me your ID. That would be great, your distributor ID. Okay, our second winner for 100 points is, wow, looks like it's Carla Lopez. Thank you so much, everyone. Appreciate all that you guys have done, and for staying with us once again. Personally wanted to give a appreciation shout out to Karen and Noemi for your presentations. And I hope you guys have a great Saturday, rest of the weekend, and we'll be seeing each and every one of you guys next week. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.